Charlie Kirk's murder when words become bullets. On September 10th, 2025, a 22-year-old man climbed onto a rooftop at Utah Valley University and ended the life of Charlie Kirk with a single gunshot. Not because of personal grievances, not because of threats to his family, but because of words, opinions, rhetoric that this young man decided deserved the ultimate punishment. Welcome to Burden of History, where we confront the hardest truths of our time. If you are new here, thank you for joining us in this difficult but necessary conversation. I'll be honest with you. As someone who disagreed fundamentally with Charlie Kirk's politics, I had made my choice long ago. I blocked him on every platform. That was my boundary, my way of protecting my peace while preserving his right to speak. But I never wished him dead. Yet when the news broke, something chilling happened. Social media lit up not just with shock, but with celebration. Videos mocking his death, comments treating murder like a political victory, people cheering as if justice had been served. And I had to ask myself, what have we become? Charlie Kirk's murder isn't an isolated tragedy. It's one more flash in a storm that has been darkening our skies for years. Students gunned down in classrooms, families slaughtered in their homes, shoppers killed while buying groceries, worshippers murdered in houses of faith. And earlier this year, Minnesota saw legislators and their spouses brutally killed. Deaths that barely registered in our national conversation. Tell me, what murder ever truly makes sense? The shooter, Tyler Robinson, didn't claim insanity. He made a choice. He decided that one man's rhetoric, however divisive, however harmful, deserved a bullet. But here's where this gets complicated, and where we must be honest with ourselves. Charlie Kirk's words did cause harm. His rhetoric did contribute to division. His platforms at colleges and high schools did amplify messages that hurt marginalized communities. Freedom of speech is sacred, but it is not weightless. Words have consequences and responsibility. At the same time, we watched political theater unfold. President Trump lowered flags and awarded posthumous honors, gestures absent when other Americans, like those Minnesota families, were killed. Selective mourning, selective outrage, a calculation of whose deaths matter. That reveals something broken in how we value human life. So we are left with two men, one who weaponized division for profit and power, and another so consumed by that division he was willing to kill. And that's where my grief lies, not just for Charlie Kirk, but for all of us. For a nation where outrage sells better than understanding. For a culture where violence increasingly feels like the only answer. For a society that confuses opposing someone's ideas with erasing the person who holds them. We must hold two truths at once. Charlie Kirk's rhetoric caused real harm, and no one deserves to die for their words, no matter how divisive. The question isn't whether Kirk was right or wrong. The question is whether we can still be a society that answers speech with more speech. Bad ideas with better ones. Hate with something other than more hate. Because if we celebrate death as victory, if we treat violence as justice, if we grow numb to murder after murder, then we have already lost everything we claim to be fighting for. This is Burden of History, where we face the hardest truths because they're the ones that matter most. If this reflection gave you pause, I ask you to stay with this community. Subscribe, share, engage, because maybe together we can step back from the edge. Maybe together we can still write a history worth defending.